call the meeting to order. And all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, could we do a roll call?
Sure can. Wondergem.
Here.
Vanek here. Steffes.
Here.
Gardine. Here. Campbell. Here. DeHaan.
Here.
And Heigl.
Here.
Who's this one mine?
All present. Please note, as a courtesy to members of the audience and the Board of Education, please silence your cell phones. Public will only be able to speak during public comment if signed up. Got a couple here. Any others? Thank you very much. Approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? All right, on to number 2, the presentations. And just real quick before we start this, I just wanted to say, so we've changed up the order a little bit. This used to come during our reports agenda. We would do these reports. So I just wanted to take a moment just to recognize that. We had a situation a couple months ago where we had, during our board presentation or our board updates, we got into a conversation that may not have been appropriate, for everyone to hear. And so some folks in the community reached out, and so Roger, I think, did the right thing and said, hey, let's adjust the agenda a little bit. So that's why we're doing things a little bit in a different order now. So I want to just recognize that. And I wasn't probably as emotionally aware as I should have been during that conversation. So I just invite anybody here on the board, right, if you guys see that and say, hey, please feel free to speak up if you see anything like that in the future. So I want to make sure we're doing the right thing there. So just wanted to say that. So on to the presentation.
Yes, and our presentation tonight was going to be from East Elementary, but because we did not have school and they didn't have a chance to practice what it is they wanted to present, we decided to postpone it, and they will be doing that at a later time. So.
All right. So no presentation.
Right.
All right.
Not yet.
All right, on to the report agenda. Board member reports. Mr. DeHaan.
All right. Start off by saying my wife and I have been to a couple of basketball games, boys and girls, and both of them are doing great this year. Mm-hmm. It's fun to see, fun to watch, especially the boys. I don't think they've lost yet, so that's really cool to see that come along like that. Shout out to the community ed pickleball. I'm signed up and playing 2 nights a week with my boys, which is awesome. So for the adults in the community to be able to do stuff like that, I know that there's other exercise classes and all kinds of things, but check that out because that's pretty cool. Thank you to the schools for all of the gifts here for the School Board Ed Month. And then, let's see, I'm looking forward to, I got to go out of town for work Friday to Friday, but when we get back, my wife and I are going to go to the play, The Two Witches No Waiting, so that starts a week from Friday. So we're looking forward to doing that. So that's what I got.
Great.
Thank you
very much. All right. Mr. Steffes.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for these gifts. That's way over the top, so appreciate it, but not necessary. February, I think it's the 27th. I will firm that up with all of you. We're going to have a full reunification drill. We're actually using Grandville students as a place where a crisis took place. We're actually going to bus them to our reunification center, which is Resurrection Life Church. And then we go through the whole process of reuniting the children with their parent or guardian. So we'll all be invited here, and I'll clear up that date and time. I know it's 9 a.m. when it actually starts. So if you can make it, great. If not, we'll report how that went later.
Great.
I believe it's the 27th, but I'll confirm that. That's it.
Great. Thank you very much. Amy, Mr. Gardine.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, winter's harsh. We've had a couple days off, and it's been interesting for the hockey team because they leave Thursday, Friday. So if we have school tomorrow, that'll be the one day that they're in school. And I cannot fully believe that our regular season is over. So we're starting to go into conference play and all of that. We did miss one on Friday, but we were able to celebrate our seniors with one of our seniors actually getting a hat trick for that night, which was super, super fun. I'm going to ask that everybody keeps us in their thoughts, and our trip up to Houghton happens this week. So we are going to be playing in Escanaba, we're going to be playing in Houghton. It is like my favorite trip of the year. But we need safe travels and successful games, and we have a really scrappy team this year, so it's been fun to watch. I also was going to mention the play coming up on the 29th, 30th, and 31st. Two Witches, No Waiting. I think it looks really cute. I'm hoping we can get back in time to watch some of that because we also have Trenton that weekend. Our Winter Color Guard has had some really great success. They had their first show last weekend. Their music is like a remix of Queen, and it is so much fun to watch. It is a really great show. We also have a pre-festival concert coming up in band on February 8th, and I say this all the time. We have musical presentations that rival going downtown to watch music at DeVos or wherever things are performed. You really should come see it for yourself. It is a free concert. I mean, you can donate if you want, but it is free. So, and then I would like to say I'm super proud of Grandville for having the Silver AP Honor Roll recognition. We were just sitting here talking about AP classes. Yes, we have some of our brilliant AP students out here today, and they are amazing, right? I'm just gonna gush over you guys just a little bit. Okay, you guys are amazing. But we also couldn't do it if we did not have, Mrs. Buchholz used to do AP Government, and we know that all of our AP teachers really, really have to do a lot of work. We even have AP teachers that do the grading, which is, we do not realize how lucky we are with the amount of quality teachers, quality students that we have. And then I just wanted to end this one last thing, because I really appreciate that Jason brought up that sometimes when we are on this board, some things get handled that maybe we should do in a little bit different format. We should talk to each other. I think we have to remember that this is a non-partisan board. And we have to remember that every single student, from the moment their parents release them to us to the moment that we release them back, they are our priority. We all took School Board 101. And the one big circle that is our job is students. If you do not have relationships with people who are different from yourself, if you do not have relationships with people you don't understand, start making those relationships. Those opportunities are out there. And it is more important than ever that we discuss things with each other, and we are kind with each other, and we are looking out for every single student in this district, regardless of how you feel personally. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wondergem.
Once again, a big thanks to all the schools for what we have in front of us today and all of their thoughts and nice gestures. And obviously, because the school's been out, what we don't have yet in front of us. So it is always appreciated. I will tell you, I think it's unnecessary to the level some schools go, but it's always appreciated. And it's kind of creative what they do as well. That's all I have.
Ms. Van Eck.
Well, my last 2 weeks or so has been busy nursing along sick children so that their parents can keep teaching. And I actually succumbed to a little bit of illness myself for a while there, but we're over it, so that's good. For whatever reason, I have learned in the last few weeks that we have at least 6 people on staff that are this close to getting their master's degree in their area of study. And that's incredible. That's a lot of money that they're putting out. It's a lot of time and effort. Most of them have families. And having had to go back to school to get my teaching certificate when I went back into teaching and having 3 kids at home, it's a lot. And I just give them so much credit for wanting to pursue their excellence. And I really appreciate all of their endeavors. And that's what I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Campbell.
Yes, couple of things. I'm excited that middle school sports, particularly middle school girls basketball, is going to be starting. So a lot of times we don't get as much attendance at those games. So come cheer on some of those middle school girls. Thank you to the coaches. It is a really hard job. It takes a lot of time. And I appreciate how much time they're willing to put into kids to make sure that all of our kids do have access to athletic programs. Another thing I wanted to highlight is that our district, or Roger, was featured and discussed about the dyslexia legislation. This legislation will be slowly enacted over the next few years, but Grandville was highlighted because we already have many of these things in place. I think it's really a testament to our administration as well as our teachers that we are currently implementing some of the best practices to ensure that all kids can learn to read. That's something I'm pretty passionate about, but I'm also really proud of our district for that. Also, I did note that the cell phone ban bill looks like it's going to pass. I think there's a lot of probably mixed feelings on that for different reasons. It looks like our current policies are pretty well aligned with what they require. That being said, I think it always comes down to implementation. Lots of times we say we have policies, but they're hard to enforce. So I do, as we're moving forward, want to make sure that we're giving our teachers the tools that they need, that they're not constantly battling the phone, because that is very difficult. That's about it.
All right, great, thank you. For me, again, big thanks to all the schools, just like Bob said and everybody else has said, right? I mean, a lot of great stuff, and I do feel a little overwhelmed with it at times, and it's too much. I would agree with that. I think we get a lot too much for what they're giving us, and so appreciate it to everybody. Yeah, and again, excited about the play coming up. Lots of great things happening, so I appreciate you all attending these events and speaking out on their behalf. So I did want to take just a moment to just to recognize we did have an unfortunate event recently within our school district, and I just wanted to say thank you to our administration, our staff, our school leadership, our teachers, everyone for showing the care, concern, and empathy that you all showed to the student and their family in their difficult time. And then that same care and concern you showed for the students who may have witnessed, the event. It's never fun. It's something. It's a reality of life right now. So it had the opportunity to be a more unfortunate event than it actually was. So thank you for all jumping onto that, and then to have the timing, if you will, to remind our school leadership of our policies and procedures in case something like this were to happen on our school property. Appreciate it. And I just, came away from that whole event and the way you informed us all that you just feel blessed to have yourself, Raj, and the team that's with you at the helm to help us through these difficult situations. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. And on that, superintendent report.
Sure. So, as you know, it's Board Appreciation Month, and you're right. Our as they always do, our buildings really went all out to show their appreciation. And we do talk about, board members and roles of board members and all that in different areas throughout our grade levels and so on. Our administration, I know our principals are so thankful for you. I can't say enough about you. I think just the fact that they show up and provide these things for you in appreciation really lets you know that they know where you're at. They know what you're about. You're about kids, supporting kids and supporting them as they're trying to support kids. So just want to say thank you so much. During Board Appreciation Month, and every month should be Board Appreciation Month because I know we certainly appreciate everyone around this table, so thanks so much. We have some special guests here today. I'm going to turn things over to Mrs. Buckholz.
Special guest.
All right. Hi, guys. Ashley Buckholz, assistant principal at the high school. We do have some students here with us today, but before they get started, I do just want to echo what Roger said and say thank you so much on behalf of the high school and everything that you do for our district. Honestly, that your support is what allows us to have such phenomenal programs and the things that we provide for our students. I remember a couple of years ago standing up here pitching Senior Survivor to all of you, and that gets started in a couple weeks here, and it's grown to be such a cool and awesome experience for our kids and just the Weller Center and everything else that you guys have done to support. So thank you. We really do appreciate it. We have Calvin, Logan, and Sean here that are going to also share they're just a couple things and appreciation for you from the high school perspective.
Hi, my name's Calvin. I just wanted to say that I'm so appreciative of everything that you guys do for every extracurricular that we're all in. I'm in NHS Student Council, captain of the robotics team. Powerlifting. I do tutoring for NHS too. And I know that because of the snow days that most clubs or sports haven't been able to rehearse or practice as much as they've wanted to, but with our optional practice today, I know that students that are really passionate about robotics and competing in a couple of months have been really grateful for the opportunity to have this practice today, especially since we're starting to get behind, starting to build and starting to prototype. I'm also in the jazz band and marching band and concert band, and I'm really appreciative of you guys' continued support. I know Mrs. Cardine shouted out our concert in a couple of weeks, and it's really just great to see how students can get so creative with both robotics and how they express themselves in the bands, and it's just really wonderful to see, and I really want to thank you guys for your support.
Hi, my name is Logan Garcia. I'm a junior at GHS, and I just wanted to share, on behalf of all of the GHS Fine Arts programs, how much support we've received and how much gratitude we show for that support. It truly means the world to GHS musicians. When we have the instruments, we have the equipment to be a professional band, and come to the concert February 8th, as Mrs. Gardine said. It sounds professional. We rehearse and we truly put so much effort into this program, and to have the support from the community truly helps fuel that effort. And thanks once again for the support. We truly love it. We have a special program at GHS, our band program. You can't find anything like it in the state of Michigan. Ms. Garcia always preaches that to us, but I think it's fully true. I think we are special here, and that's because of you guys. Ooh, sorry. So thanks once again, and have a nice night.
Hi, I'm Sean. I am a junior at Grandville High School, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for everything you do for our school and for the opportunities you provide to students like me. Because of your support, I've been able to participate in sports that I really care about, including powerlifting, golf, and this year tennis. Each of these has taught me a valuable lesson about discipline, commitment, teamwork, and pushing myself to be better every day. In addition to sports, I've also had the opportunity to be involved in clubs like DECA, which has helped me grow academically and professionally while developing leadership skills and communication skills that I know will stay with me beyond high school. I'm especially grateful for the opportunity to be a part of the Student Invoice Committee, and for the trust that you've placed in me to represent Grandville through the Kent ISD. Being able to share student perspectives and speak up for my school has meant a lot to me, and it's something I truly appreciate. Thank you for believing in students and for supporting activities that help us find our passion and feel connected to our schools. I'm really grateful for all the opportunities you've given to me and other students. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You guys did a great job. When you're at that podium and we're behind this big desk, we can be kind of intimidating. But you guys did a great job. You were very natural. A little nervous, a little bit, but other than that, you did a great job. So your presentation was nicely done. So thank you for that.
And Logan, I promise I'll tell Mr. Garcia you gave him a shot.
That's great.
Just a note, we should remember that we lost an icon in our community recently.
Yeah.
Bob Brower, who used to be the band director for many, many years, way before you guys were there, passed recently. So we think of their family and all of the greater Grandville community, because a lot of us, our kids had them, so, yeah.
And a lot of where we are now are because of the shoulders
Yes.
we stand on, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'll be hearing more about Mr. Brower in the future and some things we're looking at doing. So.
Great. Love it.
And can I just say, you guys are exactly why we're glad to sit here. and do whatever we have to do, because you're all so worth it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, just happy Board of Education Month, and we are obviously very blessed to have you.
Fantastic. All right, on to item number 4, old business. Any old business?
No business.
All right. On to 5, consent action agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Passes. On to discussion. 6A, consensus revenue estimating conference review.
Yes.
Oh, you guys are leaving? This is all the fun stuff.
See you guys.
Go study. Wait.
Yes, so in your board update this week, I gave you a summary of some of the things that took place. The general fund showed that they're looking, it's down more than what was expected in May. The school aid fund, there's an increase there. They're up, which is good, but you know and I know sometimes when one's down, one's up, there's a tendency to maybe try to balance that, and so we have a little concern with that. Heather's going to share some great tidbits of information here with you regarding the consensus revenue estimated conference. So take it away, Heather.
So I don't know if any of you have ever watched the consensus revenue estimating conference, but you can go to either the House of Rep site and watch it on TV, or Senate, and they're also pre-recorded, so you can go watch them whenever you would like. So the first presentation was from University of Michigan Economics Department. They're projecting modest economic growth outlook. So the thing is too, is you have a rep from House Fiscal, Senate Fiscal, the Executive, and then another from Department of Treasury. So you have a board of 4 listening to these presentations, and it was very interesting when the presentation was done and the House Fiscal said, it's kind of ho-hum. So to that note, it doesn't look like it has in the past. Their job growth, they are expecting 6,000 jobs added in 2026. However, that's still below Michigan's employment peak in 2000. And then the federal shutdown weighed on the 2025 quarter 4 GDP, so that will potentially have an impact going into this next quarter. And we're looking at growth of about 2% across the state. So I'll kind of skip down a little bit to more of the state revenue highlights. Corporate income tax is down 15% year over the last year, and that's really a timing thing between the Fed's year end and the state's year end. But we're also seeing Michigan is separating from the Fed corporate tax rules, so that has an impact on that revenue as well. Income tax is rising steadily. 40% of the combined general fund, general purpose, and school aid fund is made up of income tax. Pupil counts, this probably comes as no surprise. Maybe the amount comes as a surprise, but projected to lose another 10,000 students per year through the 27-28 school year. And then
That's statewide, correct?
That's statewide, yes. Yeah, all of this is statewide. When you look at, like Raj said, the school aid fund is doing well and general fund is not. And you can kind of see the positives bulleted here for the prior year, the current year, and then projected for the future years. And you see positives under school aid fund and negatives under general fund, general purpose fund. School aid fund balance is healthy. Looking at a ending balance, of 751 million in the school aid fund, while general fund has a deficit. That deficit too in the general fund is driven largely by that road package that was in the budget. Interestingly enough, they haven't come to terms on how that's going to roll out So that's another thing that legislatively they'll have to work through. We talked about the timing of the corporate income tax. And then this year, this election and coming up in November is really big for the state. A lot of seats are open. And so I think what we're going to see is there's going to be some pressure on school aid fund to help cover that general fund, general purpose imbalance, if you will. You can't have, statutorily in the state of Michigan, you have to have a break-even budget in general fund, so they have a lot of work to do yet on that. So we'll see what's next on the horizon. That I'm keeping an eye on is the executive budget recommendation will come out February 11, and then the state of the state will come out February 25, which is kind of flipped. Normally you have the state of the state first and then the budget. But so, and then just two more tables to look at. When you look at general fund, general purpose, I just highlight here the $900 million impact on the revenue side of things from that change in how things were funded, leading to that $765,000 ongoing, or $1 million, ongoing deficit. And then to highlight here, you can see the general fund side of things. I think the concern, is this is more to inform you. When we get the executive recommendation, those are some more of the numbers that I will start to use to build a budget for 26, 27. But this is, what goes into her the governor's recommendation, and then House and Senate's budget down the road. So once they agree, the next revenue conference will be in May.
Is there a cap on how much they can manipulate the monies between the school aid fund and the general fund so that we have some safety measures here? Oh, interesting.
No.
Was there any talk of the 31AA impact? I mean, because we're almost 1 million, right? And there's how many districts across the state, so it's going to be a chunk.
Yeah, so 31AA, there's really, that decision from the court, I think was supposed to be out yesterday. So haven't heard yet on that, but, so I really don't have any update on that, but the federal judge has said she won't hear the case until everything is completed at the state level, so.
I thought it was set for an appellate court in February.
There's three judges that will hear that coming up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But don't hold our breath
Well,
right away.
the governor supports that, and two of the three judges on the committee she appointed. So I doubt you're going to see much change. I'd be surprised.
Okay.
I think our better chance with that is going to be in federal court, and they're not going to touch it until everything's exhausted at the state level.
Sure.
So does that come out of the school aid fund, or does that come out of the general fund?
The 31AA is budgeted within the school aid fund, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of what happens with districts that opted out, is to be determined. But I know that MDE has been asked to kind of slow roll that taking back the funds.
Yeah.
Districts that have received them, I mean, we did receive, every district in the state of Michigan received it in December. We have to make sure that we set that aside and code that properly. So.
Interesting.
So over the years, when we have good bell curves, when we're at the top or the bottom, we're at the bottom. And I'm gonna bet we're gonna hover around the bottom for the next 3 years. I don't think much is gonna change. There's gotta be some significant revenue changes going on within the state. to make that happen, but this is like the fourth time we've been, since I've been on the board, since we're here, and we're at the bottom of the curve, and we just got to buckle down and do our best to get through it. That's just the reality of it.
I think you might see or hear in the media that it might look better than what projections say. And remember, right, we're gonna go home and, try to get votes, right, and get reelected or elected. And so it's been a long time, but there have been adjustments made mid-year for schools in Michigan, because
That's my hunch. Because it's an election year, I think they'll get the budget done quick. They'll want to get out of Lansing to campaign, and you just worry, though, about a mid-year
proration.
Adjustment.
And I get that, but there isn't that much extra to give out, right? So it's penny pitching time. And I'm going to say throughout the state, it's just the way it is. You can always hope. Always hope.
I mean, if the school aid fund dollars were used as
They're supposed to be.
as they're supposed to be, I would say it would be okay. But we know that that's not going to happen.
Correct. Someone is
Yeah.
manipulating.
Yeah.
What do you anticipate
Exactly.
with the student enrollment decline? Because am I correct that you said 10,000 students per year, and you had
Yes.
for a 2-year projection, so that we were really talking about 20,000 students
Yes.
over those 2 years, correct?
And a lot of it is birth rates.
Yeah,
But
right.
the other
right.
piece, like what Bob said regarding revenue and stuff, is trying to get people to stay in this state, right? Give them a reason to want to work here.
What does our numbers look like when it comes to that decrease in the student population? Did they talk about how it compares nationally? I know it's a national issue, but I mean, how does it compare to like the other Midwest?
They really didn't talk about the Midwest or
Yeah.
how it compared nationally in
Okay.
their presentation. That was whenever they have the enrollment presentation, it's always like the shortest
Oh, okay.
presentation of all of them on that meeting. But yeah, they really didn't have a whole lot to say other than birth rates.
I will say, Amy and I went to a Kent ISD educational event, and we actually went up, which I was surprised by. But our district tends to attract rather than lose. And that's also school of choice. We had kind of a higher number of school of choice than I thought we had, and then just retention rate was high.
Our retention rate, we were fairly stable compared, I think, to other districts where.
Even neighboring districts.
Surprising, yeah. I mean, the data, when we saw it, was pretty surprising of districts that are actually losing a significant amount of enrollment. And so thus far, right, we are remaining, I would say, kind of at stable levels, it looked like.
And even just a tiny bit of growth.
Yeah, we've been relatively flat for some time. We budget for flat. And with schools of choice as an example, we just try to balance out with kids leaving, school of choice with kids leaving, so that your number from a financial perspective can be balanced. So yeah, that's why it shows that.
We did have this past fall, though, one of the highest incoming freshman classes
That's
in
true.
my time in Grandville. We almost hit 500 with the freshman class.
Good.
It's a lot bigger than a couple years ago.
Yeah.
For sure.
Great. Anything else in that one?
No, any other questions on that?
Thanks, Heather.
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep us informed. Appreciate it. All right. On to 6B, mid-year data review.
Sure. Dr. Merkel's here to give you a mid-year
We're going to follow up the
update.
budget doom and gloom with some celebrations about student achievement.
Jeez.
Wow. I think he should buy you a coffee for a statement like
It was
that.
ho-ho, not doom and gloom.
Wow.
Here, flashing some of the coming stuff we talked about. getting some eyes on this, and all of our schools just had their mid-year data reviews. And so what I'm going to show you today is, just a high-level view. I've shared this presentation with all of you as well. But in our data review, we're looking not only at NWEA math growth, but looking at Acadians, we're looking at classroom level data. So I just want to start with today, NWEA map growth, because like Dr. Campbell said, we are well ahead of any changes that might come legislatively. We're already benchmarking our kids 3 times a year. This is K-6, so let's take a glance at reading and math. This is from the winter. You can see those achievements for reading jumping from the 62nd to the 67th percentile, and these are norm referenced tests. So this is compared to their norms across the country where we would sit, and that's important. I want to come back to that just in terms of how that impacts our classroom instruction. But some nice achievements. So not only are our students maintaining, but we're still growing in that achievement. And so here's reading broken down by grade level. Our kindergartners coming in at the 54th percentile, so just right about average in terms of nationwide, but we've already gained almost 10 percentile points by mid-year. And you can see that increase from all grade levels moving forward. Our K1 this fall were really impressive in both reading and math, which is exciting. As you know, the better we get our kids off in the beginning, the less we have to make up. But even into grade 2, you see that as probably, I think, one of our biggest reading jumps, but really a testament to the combination of our core instruction and our intervention, which we know is really strong. So every grade level in reading, increasing, and I think our smallest is in 5th grade with just 3 percentile points, but still a nice increase in terms of that achievement level. And then comparing growth. So when our teachers are meeting in their benchmarks, they're looking at specific students who needs intervention, but we're also taking a look at specific growth. What's our expected growth for every student, right? So a student who may already be behind grade level, we need at least expected growth, right? To get them on a trajectory up to grade level. But that student that's at the 98th percentile, we want them to make expected growth too, to make sure that they are achieving. Here are the targeted growth levels over the last 5 years, and you can see how well we're doing in reading, that orange bar over to the right. 6th grade was the only one that just right about where we've been, but all the other grade levels pretty significantly increasing targeted growth for this year. And again, Roger talked about it as kickoff with our teachers. One of our main focus areas this year is core Tier 1 classroom instruction. You know this because we talk a lot about MTSS, in that we have solid intervention systems when we identify students are behind. But what we've tried to started to up the ante on is core instruction for all students at a really high level. And I think we're going to continue to see this pay off. Moving over to math, you see some similar growth, again, from the 63rd percentile up to the 69th percentile. And then change in performance groups, plus 6 percentile points into the highest levels. So we're not only moving, I always look at that red bar first, right? We had 10% starting in that bottom tier, down to 7, 14, down to 12. But the fact that we're increasing at the top end as well speaks to that high level of instruction. And then here is that growth by grade level. Again, kindergarten, 9 percentile points, 1st grade, 8 percentile points. We're seeing that. And then every grade level increasing through K3 in math. I think 4th grade, yeah, 4th grade stays static, and then the others still showed growth. What's interesting about this that we're really digging into with our math team is, if you remember back to last spring, I shared that at the end of last school year we had some of our highest math scores in 10 years. It's a bit of the good to great level, right? When we're increasing, we got to keep increasing. Sometimes it's hard to stay at the top, and how do we continue to notch up? So we're digging into that. And when I mentioned at the beginning that these are norm referenced, one of the things that we really talk about, and I'll give a math example, is grade level specific competency. So yeah, we want our kids to perform better than all the other kids in their age group, in their grade group, but really we want to make sure they're mastering grade level content. So, oh, I'm sorry, I went too fast on myself. Here's our targeted growth comparison in math, and we're not seeing exactly the same. You can see a couple of those grade levels where our growth for all students isn't quite where we were the last couple of years, but you still see that K1-2 really getting them off and running early. So from a specific grade level standpoint, what we're looking at, so this is from our Dreambox math program, which is one of our newer ones over the last couple of years. This is a classroom snapshot. On next to those overall progress would be student names. I actually took those out. But we can measure how much grade level progress a student is making. So this was a first grade class that I pulled, and that top student, right, has already made almost 2 grade levels worth of growth, but they started at a 0.2. They came in so far behind, but that's when I talk about our target is beyond a year's growth for anybody who's behind, because that's going to get them up to grade level. So that current standing, no, I'm sorry, I misspoke. This is a second grade class. So this student is already almost at grade level. And then those grade level standards that we're measuring, next to that, you can see the overall grade level competency for those students. So this is a teacher dashboard where they can do that. And then we can drill specifically into our specific math standards. So the big graph on the left are all of the first grade standards. And then again, those are individual students on each line, how much progress they're making toward that specific standard. So our professional learning communities and grade levels identify our priority and essential standards. They know which standards to focus on and how close their students are to mastering those, and they can really individualize instructions. And then what's really nice over on the right, they can adjust up and down. So this is a first grade class. They can take their current class and they can pull a measurement by kindergarten standards. So if I'm a first grade teacher and I have 5 students that I know are below grade level, I can really drill into which specific kindergarten standards do they need to work on to build up into grade level, and then you can advance it up to second grade. So I talk about targeted growth for the 98th percentile. They can see which above grade level standards students are working on, progressing toward, and working toward mastery. So again, mid-year, what's exciting about this, what I think is exciting about this, is that our main months of growth are really January, February, March. We're hitting that at the building level. I just used to call it move-in time. Like that's when we're moving kids forward and really digging in and seeing some growth. So to be able to build off this level of success, we're really excited about. And then long term, these are the types of things that earn us silver awards on AP tests and hopefully gold next year. But we know how successful we are there and really proud of it. So what questions might you have?
Scott, can you go back to the math? Go back. Yep, one more. All right. So under 6th grade,
yeah,
we start out 9% in the red.
Yep.
And then our assessment, we're at 11.
Yep.
Where'd they fall down?
So
Any
at the
idea?
end, that's what they're looking at in benchmark meetings. So it's either, well, somebody's not making targeted growth and they're falling into that level. Probably from the orange, right? Unfortunately, the orange went from 17 to 14. 2 of those percentiles probably went the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we have individual records to know which of those kids, identifying which of those kids aren't making it and being able to just continue to up the ante on their interventions.
Would those kids typically get pull-out or?
Yeah, a little of both, and we go way granular on this too. So they may already be special education students, they may not. If not, they're probably then moving into or part of child study, student support team for other recommendations.
And I get that. I'm just saying, if you went from 9 to 11,
Yep.
more than likely it isn't special ed. It's somebody's falling through the cracks. Okay.
Yep.
But then you go to the data graph that you had where you're evaluating, keep going, please. Oh, the other way, sorry. Toward the end of your presentation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one more, there you go. So here is where you can see, right, where
Yep.
those cracks are happening. Now, what happens here then, Scott? Does the admin then meet with the grade level teachers and say, here's whomever, and this is where we're having problems? You know, what kind of remediation then do they plan then for that? Is it in their RTI time?
Yes. Yeah, and so they're meeting regularly. So after our assessments, they have their building level benchmark meetings where they will identify students who need interventions, and then within those interventions, there'll be progress monitoring. And then they meet all of our buildings as part of our MTSS system. They have tier 1 and tier 2 meetings that follow those up. So they're monitoring how kids are doing. If they're not making progress within the intervention, then we need to change the intervention. If they are, oftentimes kids are making progress and able to move out of the intervention.
Right.
And other students may move in.
Some of the things that I know that you and I have talked about before is, what kind of then specialized training are the teachers getting to implement that kind of intervention that's going to help boot those kids back in the right direction?
Yeah.
And is there enough time? Is there the resources that are needed in place for that?
There's never enough time, Sally, you know that.
I know that.
No, it is a great question. One of the things we're really proud of, we're in a bit of a holding period, to Bob's point. Sometimes tight budgets, we have to put things on hold. We were part of a 27H grant last year for math learning, where we were able to train 3 trainers in math recovery. And our goal is to scale that out, right? Now that we have trainers on staff, they can train classroom teachers in math recovery, which is one of the most effective math intervention, core instruction, but also intervention strategies from an instructional standpoint.
And how many students can each of those instructors take on for?
Well, it's a couple of things. So it starts by teaching and building capacity just around the math skill and teaching from a core 1, or from a tier 1. So within that core instruction, they'll hopefully be able to identify sooner when kids need help, and then have immediate strategies there, but then also be able to follow up with pull-out interventions. So it really depends. Like there's not a hard number, but obviously the more intense support that a student needs, you want them in a smaller group.
Sure.
So question with the data that you're showing, it's for the math test data, that's all sort of norm reference. So like we're in the 54th percentile, right? Yeah. Which means we're sort of average scores when we compare to other kids who've taken the test nationally.
Yes.
So based on this, because this is something that's a little bit weird with MAP test data this year, they updated the norms for 2020, which is great because we needed the update.
Yeah.
But at that same time, what is ending up happening is kids that essentially have the same RIT score, right, all of a sudden look a whole lot better percentile-wise than in reality. So I guess one of my things we want to be careful about is if we see big jumps, if we're from like previous years, that may just be a reflection on the change in norms as opposed to progress. But when I look at this data, my question is, if we're looking from the grade levels, what percentage of our students overall are on target? So like I see growth, but I see achievement. With those percentiles, does that bottom bar, is that showing me the percentage of students who are in a certain area, or is that still related to a percentile?
Yeah, that's still related to a percentile.
Okay.
So when we at the building level will pull out that data, we will look at a grade level sometimes by the 50th percentile to say this is about how we are. But your point is valid, right? They renormed everything for 2025, and post-COVID, You know,
Skills
it's
are-
great if we're
kids
doing
are-
really well compared to students across the country, but if students across the country are all doing worse than they were 5 years ago,
Yeah.
that's why the grade level assessments are
Right.
even that much more important as well, to make sure, because our standards are still the same. Our content and our expectations at grade level are still the same, and that's absolutely
Yeah.
why we want that.
Yeah, it would be helpful sometime to see the data and it's kind of a simple way of looking at the data, but I always find like, okay, well, what percentage of our kids are actually where we want them to be by
Yes.
grade level tends to be easier to interpret in terms of like growth and overall.
Yeah.
The other question I had is how are teachers, because this is a lot of data and it's good data, but we collect a lot of data on our students. And so my question is, so we have MAP, right, which I know, but I also know we have Acadian's math scores.
Yep.
And then also Dreambox, like how do we help teachers
and
not get overwhelmed in data as opposed to taking sort of simple things to mean like this is what we act on?
An awesome question. And one of the things you've heard us talk about is kind of how proud we are of our MTSS system. And so I would equate a lot of it to scaling. So when we have building level data reviews, we have MTSS coaches who prep all that data. They prepare everything for for those building teams to be able to walk into a meeting, and they've seen all the data ahead of time, but it's there and it's organized for them at that building level where they're looking at that higher level component. Then within each school, when they go to their specific grade level benchmark meetings, that data is really scaled more for them. And then I would scale it down further. As you've heard us talk about this year, we have a focus on professional learning communities, and our building level PLCs then are pulling together. When they meet monthly, they're bringing specific classroom level data that's even more actionable, right? So our benchmark meetings are creating those interventions and kind of supports for teachers, layering tier 1 and tier 2, and then within their PLCs where they're really collaborating as a powerful grade level team within a building, that's when they're really looking at classroom data, and they're even bringing exit tickets. I mean, they're bringing classroom level common assessments and comparing those and really focusing on day-to-day instruction that way. So it comes down to a scaling and how we set up our system. And I love your question, because as I'm prepping a data presentation, there's so many options. I'm down 16 different rabbit holes about I want to show this data, I want to show that data, and what's really going to be meaningful to understand and digest, because really, it's a lot.
It is a lot, and it does change by the grade level. So for example, for like K3, I think it'd probably be more important, or the data for Acadians is probably a lot more useful and relevant than MAP test data. And then it changes over time as they get older.
And even from this reading data, I showed the math just because it was easy to take a snapshot of, but within our reading level data from the very beginning, our K1-2 classes are giving further diagnostic assessments, things called the phonemic screening inventory and the passive phonemic awareness screening inventory, just to, again, get those very specific grade level skills. So if we have, the English language has 44 sounds, and we want to know exactly which ones kids have mastered and have not mastered, so we can follow up either with in-class small groups or tier 2 interventions.
Couple items. Glad to see the reading scores, where they're at and progress there, because I have no scientific proof on this, but I just think reading is such a fundamental piece for students to be able to then translate the learning to anything else that they're going to do. So glad to see the scores there with our reading for sure. The second thing in that last slide, just was curious. Obviously, that was all student data or down to the student here, right?
Yep.
So do we also have this information by school? At grade level, and then by overall?
Yes.
So do we see anything sticking out at us to say, hey, Jimbo is doing fantastic here on MDA, but they're not doing so well on something else. But there's another class, another school that's doing great here, but not good here. Do we see that kind of variation, or is it all fairly look
We
similar.
see that sometimes. This program is too new for us yet.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I just wondering if there's any nuggets we can be pulling out of this yet to say, hey, what do we, because we put a lot of time and thought into how we're educating and how we're teaching a lot of these subjects, right? We've introduced a lot of new programs, so what's different between the way Brent's teaching it and fantastically to his kids and my kids are all failing, right? Or you know, wherever it may be.
yes.
Okay.
And we do those comparisons with other data as well.
Right.
When things jump out.
Okay.
And the professional learning communities are so powerful, the MTSS means, because when you look at that and you see someone else is getting results, when you can get teachers collaborate to the point of like, man, my kids are knocking it dead here, but boy, they're really struggling here, but man, I see your kids are really knocking it dead. What are you doing? What strategies are you using to get those results? That's when it's powerful.
Right.
And that's why we, you know, that power of professional learning communities is there and so integral in, you know, pushing that envelope and increasing student achievement.
Yeah. Great.
The last thing that I will say, and I talked for hours, I know you're waiting for me to stop, but Amy talked about the 50th percentile is kind of your national midpoint norm, right? The 50th percentile, we're stretching to make the 60th percentile our base goal as a norm, and they actually, NWEA has comparative linking studies that have identified about the 68th percentile as passing MEP and SAT. So we're continuing to raise that bar, like wanting to shoot for higher to make sure that we're not just satisfied with status quo.
Scott, Jason brought up a point. In the past, we have seen, and I don't care if it's at a blush, but we have seen scores compared to the elementaries, and we don't see that here. So
No,
is
I
that,
didn't pull building by building.
it'd be nice to see that the next time you do it.
Okay.
Just
Let's do that at the end of the year.
perfect.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, just
Okay.
let's see it.
Got it.
I mean, maybe I'm not reading it right, but what I'm curious about is when I look at like fourth grade, like winter achievement is 65, and then we drop down to 59 when we go to like fall of fifth grade, and then winter of fifth grade, and then you go to the fall of sixth grade, it drops back. Are other schools doing stuff like over the summer that we don't do or something?
No.
Or am I not reading that right?
So two things. No, you're right on. There's always a fall, summer slide.
Summer drain.
Just in terms of
But it seemed like that'd be
where fall
relevant.
starts. But also remember, those are different cohorts. So if we were to look at where fourth grade finished last year,
And then track them to
and
fifth
then,
grade.
yeah, and then be able to see where that
So that's where I always
slide was.
have, this is where I always feel some of these charts too, right? Like you're not following that same kid up to second, like you're following years of
Yeah.
kindergarten. So that's another entirely other discussion about following a group of children into their, right? So,
Cool. Yeah.
I love PLCs. Had a chance to be part of that a little bit before I retired. I just guess I still would like to say out loud that, you know, in order for us to have good core teaching, teachers still need to know some of the professional development stuff that only people who are masters with that particular curriculum can infuse in on them. And I think that we need to think about how we prioritize professional development time and money spent. Again, I'm not against PLCs. I learned a lot from my master teachers that are around me. I get that. But I also know that there are certain things, especially today more than even when I was teaching, where you've got to have the professional come in and say, this is how you use it. This is how you implement it. This is what you look for with kids that are at that low end. And how can you remediate that just like that sometimes, if you know how to do it. And that's where I think sometimes we let those cracks widen when we do not provide that level of professional development that our teachers need.
Sure.
So, that's my 2 cents on that.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
thanks.
A lot to be proud of. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. No other items for discussion? On to public comment. We will have 5 minutes for speaker. Ms. Campbell will be keeping track of that. She will give you a warning at the 1 minute mark. We have up first Holly Monroe, and then on deck, Jackie Pullman.
Hello. This is my first school board meeting, so my name is Holly Monroe. Do I need to state my address?
Sure.
4086 Ponca Drive. I want to thank you for letting us be able to come in and speak. I have 3 kids in the district. I have one at South Elementary, at Oakstown, and at the middle school, so I feel really in the you know, the muck of it with them. My biggest concern here tonight is just unfortunately to talk about what's happening in our community along with ICE. And wanting to seek some information from you and the school board at just a little bit more transparency on what is set up and what's in place with our teachers. I know, that there's been some incidents with, and I'm not sure if that's something you were referring to earlier. As a parent, I haven't received any notice of anything within our specific community, but I know in Byron Center, as well as Holland, that there are things happening, and often, they're starting to happen at the schools. And so as a parent to 3 different kids in the district who maybe don't have to worry about this, which is a privilege, and I want to state that, as Mrs. Gardine was saying, that we have to get outside of our community, and sometimes they don't have a voice. Even stating my address is a privilege because I'm not scared. So I know that this is a sensitive topic, and I know that addressing this publicly with parents and with the community is hard because it inundates you with reactions. And right now we are very hot in our climate in our country. And so I know that it's sensitive and I want to be tactful, but I also really am seeking answers as to what's set up in place. What is there for our teachers? Are they being trained in a certain way? Do we have our support staff, the people who are waiting outside at the bus stops, are they trained in figuring out how to help these children? Or if a child comes and reports that their parent has been taken, or that they're afraid of that, is there SEL teachers that are working with them? I guess it's just kind of transparency across the board, and then what are you able to tell parents, and how can we be a part of that to help? Those are my biggest questions. I know there's also a safe zone resolution that's being taken place in Michigan in different school districts. I don't know if that's something Grandville has looked at or if there's something in place for that. So that is my multi-layered question.
Thank you very much. All right, up next, Jackie Pullman. On deck, Alan Traxler.
Good evening, board. I first of all want to echo Roger's comment about School Board Appreciation Month. Most of you know me, I've spoken here a bunch of times, but I know, even though some of you I know personally, others I don't know as well, I know every single one of you is here because you care about our students and you care about our community. And it is a huge commitment, and sometimes you get egg thrown in your face. I know at least half of you were here during the pandemic, and that was brutal. So I would be remiss if I did not stand up here and say thank you for stepping into this role and doing what you do for our students. It is appreciated, every single one of you. I want to echo the comment previously about the immigration enforcement, particularly the issue that happened, I believe it was last week. On my phone, I have just a couple of examples of policies that have been written and published by neighboring districts that say exactly what the responsibilities are of the district, not only for what's on school ground, but also at bus stops, at, for instance, sporting events, any other place where students are. And I think as a board, your responsibility to the students means that you should probably put something out there to say what the boundaries are of keeping all of our students safe, as well as caring for our families when something does happen, because unfortunately it is happening. So I would appreciate it if you guys would make that a priority going forward. Otherwise, have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Up next, Alan Traxler. On deck, Christy Tripp-Arkema.
Hello, my name is Alan Traxler, a Grandville resident with 2 kids in the district. And I come from a German family that immigrated to America sometime following the Civil War. likely arrived at Ellis Island, and the process to come to America was far easier than it is today. And I think that the process today is far more complex and more restrictive. My personal belief is that we could simplify it and just make it easier for people with less time requirement because it is a long process. But my current beliefs aside, I think we have to deal with the situation as it is with immigration, and I've been shocked by how much lying I've seen from DHS, ICE, and the administration. Specifically, as a case study, you could look at the case of Abrego Garcia. It seems that in his particular case, there were lies told about him, court orders that were not followed, and I worry more cases like that could be happening all over the country. There's just so much to keep track of, so many cases. How many more people are improperly detained and arrested, and was rather distressed that last week someone in our community was arrested by ICE. I think that it would be very distressing for a family to go through that, to have like your father, your husband, your mother, a sibling taken, and I'm worried it could be psychologically damaging to a kid and to the fellow classmates. You know, if you're in a classroom and you're seeing somebody crying, if there's just constant stress, constant threat of this looming cloud of a deportation that could occur in your family or has occurred in your family, I think it could really cause harm to learning and harm to the kid. So I'm just wondering if counseling is available for these children, and maybe counseling in their language if they need that. And I just hope that care is being given to the kids. And I'm personally wondering what is being done to protect these kids and their family members, given that we've seen, ICE and DHS, tell lies, make up stuff about documentation, make claims that are not true, make claims about their documentation that are not true. So I'm wondering, if a warrant is ever presented, is it checked that it's actually a judicial warrant? Is ICE allowed at the school facility? I don't know. And sadly, I think that these distressing situations are going to ramp up. I believe I saw a comment from Stephen Miller wanting 3,000 arrests a day. And if that's to occur, ICE is going to be ratcheting up their bad behavior with looking at anybody who might speak another language, who has an accent, maybe somebody who doesn't fit a certain look a certain way. And if it's that many people, maybe they're going to start targeting based on the vaguest of profiles. Who knows what they're going to do? So having some clarity as to how kids are looked after, and if ICE is allowed in school, that clarification is welcome. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Christy. On deck, Brandy.
Hi, I want to echo the thank you to the school board for all that you do as a community member. My name is Christy Tripp-Arkema. I live at 3900 Kiowa Court Southwest. And thank you so much again. I come with similar just comments and concerns, and just wanted to express concern that Grandville Public Schools have a well thought out and proactive course of action in response to recent activity from ICE. And I understand what happened and what's been referred to, and I appreciate Jason saying that Roger did a good job handling things. We're just asking for more transparency, I think, so that I can tell my friends who are living in fear. Friday morning, my friend called me sobbing because her 5-year-old watched her dad be detained right in front of them, in front of their home. The 18-year-old was walking him to the bus stop, and he saw that. It is not the Grandville community, but it's one of my friends in a neighboring community. And it's happening all around us, and I'm really concerned that that was Thursday in Grandville, Friday in another district. And the families that I work with and that I know are in crisis mode, they're in survival mode, and they don't have time to look at school websites, but I went to Grandville's school website today to see, and I didn't see anything about what I could tell my friends who do live in the district about how their kids will be protected at school. So I did see in Reading, Pennsylvania, Reading School District has a very public statement about what their policy is. It expresses what they will do as a district, what they will not do as a district. And then it lays out the rights to parents. It also encourages parents to make sure that their emergency contact information for each student at the school is updated so that schools know what to do in case of parents being taken. And I wonder what the school policy is in terms of if a student, for example, is staying after school and the parents were detained during the school day, and what would happen. I asked another school district and they said they would call CPS, and I just was curious what Grandville's position would be in that case. My main purpose is to use my voice. I've learned that I have a voice I can use, and that the people I work with do not. They are scared, like I said, and they don't speak English. And I've seen the power of my voice in the last 2 months, even though I was so scared to use it. But I'm seeing what change is happening because I'm using my voice, and I really appreciate you giving this time for public to speak and that you're listening and looking at me. My families that I work with don't get seen. They don't know who they can trust. They're in hiding in our own hometown of Grandville, and they are living in fear, and this fear affects the education of our students. So my questions are, do staff know what to do if ICE shows up in the pickup line? Are secretaries and frontline staff aware of what to do, as I'm sure they are? I just would like to see what that is. Are teachers instructed not to disclose immigration status of any of their students to anyone outside of the district? Do all staff realize they have students that this affects? I know I was raised in a bubble and I didn't see what's happening, what I see now. And I just wonder if all staff know that this is of kids living in fear and families living in fear. What is going to happen if parents get detained and students are left behind? Are parents notified of their rights? And what social and emotional supports are in place for this specific type of student experience that happened last week? How are the other students who maybe are not living in fear, how are they being supported if they were to witness more ICE, and I will choose to use the word kidnappings. And I would ask that those be on the website so that my friends and neighbors can share with other families that we are working with. And again, I want to thank you for all you do. You're amazing for giving your time and energy to the school board, so thank you.
Thank you. And up next, Brandy Ritzma.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Brandy Ritzma. I am a parent of 2 students in this district. I am here because what has occurred is not a misunderstanding. It is a breakdown of safeguards meant to protect students, families, and this district. A serious contradiction exists regarding what school staff has told me versus what the district has communicated to Child Protective Services. For over a year, a school counselor, Brittany Steenland, repeatedly told me she did not make certain statements to CPS. All of those conversations were recorded. I relied on that representation. I have now been informed by the district after asking for those records to be corrected through Adam Langto that Brittany never made those statements to me, and I am mistaken, despite them being recorded. When I ask for corrections based on statements directly from her, I'm now told I am being mistaken. You guys make that make sense. Both cannot be true. That is not a difference of interpretation. It is a factual contradiction with serious consequences for my children and my family, especially me. When I recently received district records, they were incomplete and very, very concerning. They show extensive communication between my children's father and multiple school employees about private family matters unrelated to school conduct, while key emails are missing. Chains are cut off, context is absent, and I am repeatedly excluded as a parent. Those same records show that my daughter was recruited to play a sport without my knowledge or involvement to make it look as if I'm uninvolved. In fact, it was purposefully kept from me, violating my rights. The records also reflect that my children's father has openly acknowledged isolating my children from me with the vice principal, Ms. Buckles. He laughed about it with her. Prolonged parental isolation is widely recognized as harmful to children. Yet, despite staff being aware of this, there is no indication of concern, documentation, or mandated reporting. No protection of my children. Instead, unverified allegations about me were escalated, continued, and doubled down on illegally. That inconsistency in safeguarding standards is deeply troubling. When I formally challenged inaccuracies under FERPA, the district refused to correct or amend its records. Instead, I was sent the same records duplicated repeatedly, creating the appearance of volume rather than accuracy, while the inaccuracies remain uncorrected. That is misleading. School staff also discussed and escalated allegations based on an alleged recording the district admits it does not possess and principal has never heard. Yet statements were conveyed to CPS about what was supposedly heard. What was conveyed does not reflect any recording played in court, confirming the school has spread misinformation and caused irreparable harm as a result. If the school does not have the recording, did not report the recording, it cannot factually know what it says. Treating hearsay as fact is very reckless. Schools are not investigators, schools are not courts. They are not permitted to pass unverified interpretations to CPS as fact, or their opinions of things they have heard indirectly. I am not here to accuse individual staff. I am here because oversight is the board's responsibility. I respectfully request that the board direct an internal review of what was communicated by CPS, by who and on what basis. Require correction or supplementation of inaccurate records I've received, not duplication. Ensure that FERPA amendment procedures are followed and provide clear guidance on lawful communications and mandated reporting. Accordingly, I respectfully request a written board response entered into the public record addressing these concerns and the corrective actions the district will be taking. Accuracy protects students and families. Accountability protects staff. Silence does not. And I have been treated and disregarded with silence for over a year. I've come to the board. I've met with administrators. And guess what? The more I request, the more I uncover that the school is violating my rights. And this is very concerning, and I would appreciate some help and some answers and some correction. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public comment. We will be going into closed session for the purpose of the superintendent conducting a self-evaluation. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, we will go into closed session. Thank you, everybody.